Well, we heard it, recording in progress. All right, so in today's Tasha, I would like to talk about the ordinary mind. What do I mean by that? To really explain it a little deeper, I'm going to use a koan to show what I mean. So now, what is a koan? A koan is like a little quiz that has no logical explanation. You can't kind of crack that little quiz or puzzle with your thinking mind. Impossible. It will be trapped endless. That's what you're trying to do. So koans are really traditional for the Rinzai tradition in Zen. So there are two major traditions in Zen. One is Rinzai, one is Soto. In Soto, they don't use koans. In Rinzai, they use koans. The tradition I come from Willigis Jäger, is Sambo Kyodan, which is a mixture between Soto and Rinzai. So with the many folks I used to sit with, some were doing koans, some were not doing koans. And I didn't want to do koans. I told my master he's crazy. I'm not doing that kind of crap. I was pretty bad as a student. I was one of the youngest ones and was a little rebel. Anyway, but very good relationship with my master who passed. But oh, anyway, so finally he's like, yeah, you are doing it. I was like, darn it. He told me you need to do it. Now I have to do it. My early 20s. And I'm like, it's a waste of time. They're old stories. Don't want to get involved with it. I just want to sit in a moment. He's like, you're doing it. Well, okay, gonna have to do it. So anyway, I went through the whole shebang of koans. There are a few hundreds of them. Oh God. Anyway, so I would like to share one with you. And it's actually from, of course, I did this whole thing in German, but it's in the English book of that koan collection. It's actually the first koans that you have to get through if you do koans. It's called The Gateless Barrier. And it's a collection by Mumonkan, who's an ancient Zen master. And I like to talk about koan 19. There it is. In that collection. So it's one of the early koans. So why even coming up with something like that? That's like a quiz that you can't really solve with the logical mind. Why? Because it's helpful for us to sit with something like that, to go beyond the rational. To go beyond the rational mind. It can be really helpful to do that and come into the experience. So in Zen, it's really all about experience. And for me, it's in any meditation tradition, for me, that needs to be the essence. You know, even in contemplation in the Christian tradition, that's the essence. It's the experience, not the knowing. Forget the knowing. Knowing you can always argue with. Experience you can't. And you find that in any mystical path and any religion. Sufism, it's about experience. It's not about knowing. Just to open that out a little bit out of the Zen tradition. So koans are built. They normally have three parts. One is the case, which is basically the story of it, like what happened. And normally the story is an encounter between a Zen student and a Zen master. Can be also other things, but normally. Then there's a comment, It's some kind of master, like doing an interpretation of that dialogue between master and student. And there comes a poem with it. So those are the 3 parts normally that come with a koan. All right. And to become a Zen teacher or to become to get Dharma transmission, you have to go through them all, at least in the Rinzai school. Or if your master tells you need to. So then you're kind of screwed. You kind of have to. Never regret it, by the way. Before I did the last few ones, after a few hundred, he looked at me, it's like, you don't get anything out of those anymore, do you? I'm like, nope. He's like, okay, we're done. All right, so let me read you that case 19 of the Mumonkan. You can imagine it's playing 800 AC, so a long time ago. And it's an encounter between Choshu, who's a very famous Zen master. Many koans have him in there, many stories, you can Google him, fascinating guy. Between Choshu and Nansen, another very famous Zen master. And Choshu at the time of the koan is in his 20s and he's still a monk. He's not a master yet. Also, you have to imagine, well, no, that's enough about that. Okay, so I'm going to read you the koan. Again, see if you can just take it in. Your rational mind is going to go a little confused. It's all right. That's kind of what we want here. All right, so Choshu asked Nansen, what is the way? Nansen answered, your ordinary mind, that is the way. Choshu said, does it go in any particular direction? Nansen replied, the more you seek after it, the more it runs away. Choshu, then how can you know it is the way? Nansen, the way does not belong to knowing or not knowing. Knowing is illusion. Not knowing is lack of discrimination. When you get to this perplexed way, it is like the vastness of space, an unfathomable void. So how can it be this or that? Yes or no? Upon this, Choshu came to a sudden realization. So that's the story between those two. Now the commentary goes like this. And the commentary is by Mumon, the guy who wrote the book, long time ago. Choshu suddenly brought up the question to Nansen, who explained it, but the tile disintegrated, the ice dissolving, the drain is blocked up. Even though Choshu came to a realization, he must delve into it another 30 years before he can understand it fully. And now the verse or the poem. The spring flowers, the moon in autumn, the cool wind of summer, winter snow. If your mind is not clouded by unnecessary things, this is the happy day in human life. All right, so what does that mean? How is this applying to any of us? What's going on here? So in other translations of this koan, instead of using the word the way, always remember those are all Chinese. It's all written originally in Chinese. Later on in Japanese, but this stuff is Chinese. It's old Zhang, old Zen. So all plays in China. And so translating Chinese can be very, very tricky. No one was laughing. No, we do. So the way in some translations of this koan, and I think it hits it way better, instead of the word way, they use the Tao. Because the Tao means way more than just the way. So basically, Choshu wants to know, what is the Tao? It's a big question. What is the essence of life? What is the way? How am I supposed to live this life on purpose? What is actually really going on here? So he's asking this essential question. And you have to think about it in that way. Choshu traveled from North China all the way to South China, 800 AC. Traveled all the way down south to meet Nansen, to study with him. So that question was urgent. It's not just like you're clicking on the Zoom login and you're here, right? It's a little bit of different effort. Travel the whole time. That question was burning in him. It's like he would do anything in life to understand, right? Would give anything. So that's how urgent it was to him. So of course he was open to the teaching, right? It's about how urgent is it for us. So we receive. And then he gets the answer. Your ordinary mind is the Tao. Probably not what he expected to hear. So what does that mean? Does it mean that our very ordinary confused mind is already it? There's nothing to do. It's already all good. It's a yes and no. It's a yes and no. It's yes because the Tao is already here, because the truth is already happening. And it's no because there is an original ordinary mind. There is an ordinary mind that's beyond our confusions. So the sitting practice really, or the practice, no matter what the practice, what kind of practices you're doing, is the idea to get more and more peeling off the confused mind. Going beyond or underneath or behind or wherever you want to go with it, beyond that ordinary confused mind. I think it's a very essential koan because it's important that we understand that ordinary life and spiritual life, there's no difference. There is not one or the other. It's one thing, ultimately. How can there be a split? There's only one truth. There's only one Tao. There's only one space where reality is happening in. There's only one life. See, don't make it complicated. So how can we see that? How can we bring that clear view and that clear understanding into the daily life? That's it. It's not now I'm sitting and now I'm not. Now I'm being spiritual and now I'm all confused. You can be spiritual by cooking dinner. You could be very confused on the cushion, right? See, there is not two. There is not two. There's just where you're focusing. And not just where you're focusing, what are you identified with? Basically, is what it comes down to. The ordinary mind, what does that mean? So think about it this way. It's like there is a vast space, right? There's the space that we're all in, this life as it is. And we're looking for the Tao, we're searching for the truth. Problem is we're going outside of that space. We're trying to find something outside of that space, and then we complain that we're not in it. We are the ones stepping outside. Because we're judging, because we have an idea of right and wrong, because we wanted to have it a certain way. That's why we step outside. Ultimately, it's because we identified with an ego, with I want it this way. We're literally all a little bit like little children sometimes. I want it my way. It's very much true, though. I have it. Each day I catch myself. Oh, got a little trapped there for a minute. Sometimes we're trapped for days, weeks. So we're stepping out of the Tao because we identify with something that we want. We want it different than what already is. We want more. We want less of this. We want more of that. We want it our way. Sometimes even a question can do that to us. We ask a question and then we wait for a certain outcome, a certain answer. Because we already know kind of like what we want to hear. That's stepping outside too, because you're not really open to receive. Like we're asking question, when is my suffering going to end? Step inside and it will end. You have to be ready. It can always end right now. If you're outside, you're waiting for your answer. Oh, it will end if you're just really being good and you practice enough and all of this stuff, right? Or if you have more money, or your suffering will end if you, I don't know what your thoughts are, right? What your ego comes up with. So not getting trapped in that idea that we have of the world, really. Often we're having goals, right? There's nothing wrong with having goals as long as you have them open-ended. But we have goals. We want to achieve something, right? And then we work really hard to get there. And then we don't allow ourselves to really live until we get where we want to be, right? And then as soon as we achieve a goal, we're like, then you live for like a day or two, and then you have a next goal. So statistically, you're living like, out of your 80, 90 years, you might live in a year or so. And the rest, you're constantly waiting. Or you're like enduring, or I don't know. Yeah. So think about it. No waste of time. Practicing deeply is very risky. It's the risk of letting go of your goal, letting go of your ideas of achievements. It's truly surrendering to what's really alive. And then we can see what's actually already here. We can smell what's here. We can taste what we eat. That's the ordinary mind I'm talking about. Because it's ordinary. It's cutting a carrot and hearing the cracking sound of it. So polishing the mind so it becomes really the original ordinary mind, and not in a certain way, but right now, when you notice your thoughts, when you notice your emotions, when you notice your struggles, all of that, it's all part of it. When you notice your judgments, your ideas, like we say, I'm angry. Are you angry? No, you're not. You're way bigger than that. You're way something bigger than that. But you experience anger. So it comes through you. That's an unconfused, ordinary mind. So anything just shows up and goes through. Seasons, that's why the poem, right? When you're just with whatever is, now the sun is coming through the window. Now it's cold. That's the ordinary mind. Can you get in touch with it? Can you be in it? Can you make it your primary mind? And especially now that we have, you're going into your afternoon, keep the practice up. Perhaps you want to sit in silence. Perhaps you want to go for more walks. When you prep your eating, can you stay present? How present can you be with it? In the sensation of what's happening. So slow things down. Take that luxury of slowing things down and really experiencing your life. I'm quoting probably Thich Nhat Hanh a few times here because he just passed. So Thai used to say, your breakfast is there for you. You also have to be there for your breakfast. Isn't that just sweet? I mean, it's that way. Your shower is there for you. Be there for your shower. That's the way to live, right? To truly live and not wait until you have done something right. Forget that one. Start living now. Enjoy your afternoon. I know I've gone over for 4 minutes or something, 3 minutes. I would like to encourage you all to be on time. Normally when you sit in a retreat, you're there 5 minutes before it starts. So I want to encourage you to log in 5 minutes before so you don't get stressed out and you can catch your breath. You lost my volume. Everybody lost my volume? No? Oh, I think it's just Yuli. Okay. Sorry, you probably can fix that or you have. All right. So go into your life with that awareness. And then I see you at 3 and I see you at the